I'm Bob Luchin, and I'd like to welcome you to a new show we're doing here at PSL TV 20 called City View. With me today for our first show is our own city manager, Jeff Bremer. Actually, you're going to be here for every show. It's not just for our first show, it's for every show.
Well, I hope so.
So City View, our new show, your brainchild. You had a meeting with us recently, and you expressed interest that you wanted to be more of a voice on TV, tell the public what's going on in the city, some of the positive things that are happening. Generally let people know what's going on that isn't always reported in the newspapers or on the news stations. So it's good to see you here, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bob. I appreciate
welcome to City View.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come in and just do a little bit of chatting back and forth. I've done this a number of other times in other capacities, and it was fairly well received because it's a relaxed way of really talking about issues that I think are important to the community, that others might view as great information that they receive. So yeah. To me, it's an excellent opportunity for us to communicate and to really generate additional questions that may come out of the discussions that we have.
Yes. Now, this isn't your first show. You told me earlier that you've done this before. It's not your first rodeo sitting in front of a camera.
Well, I'm finding out that first rodeo tends to be a southern phrase because I've heard it a lot of different times. But yeah, I have done this before, and like I say, it's been fairly well received. So I think it's a great communication tool, and it's a great way of letting the residents know who the people who are in charge are, sure, and what their thoughts are, and you get a different perspective by being able to see somebody in person. Most people don't understand what local government is about or how local government functions. Sure. But that a part of this government is really a council manager form of government. So when you ask what I do, because I get this all the time, what is it you do? My responsibility is really to handle the day-to-day operations and to make sure that all the departments are working together. So it's kind of like a conductor taking a band and making sure that all the sections work. The council itself is really there to set policy. And so some people get confused sometimes that the mayor is like a strong mayor form of government. This is a council manager form of government. So each one of the council members helps to establish policy, and then I take that policy and then direct the staff to fulfill it. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I do, because sometimes you see the city manager and, well, what does he do? Sure. And so I just marshal the troops and make sure that the day-to-day operations run smoothly.
I've never been exposed to a strong mayor form of city government. Have you had any
I have not worked
in
a strong mayor form of government. I don't really support that form of government. Tends to create too many hierarchies. Okay. And well, the city manager, we're appointed, we serve at the pleasure of council. So sometimes if you get an elected mayor or a president or a governor that you don't like, you're stuck with them for 4 years. True. If you don't like what the manager's doing, you can rectify that and you can move on.
So in a strong mayor form, the mayor acts as a city manager in some capacity?
Very much so. Okay. And you would have a strong mayor that would make decisions and direct policy and direct day-to-day stuff, bring things to the council, and the council has its own form of how they approve things. So you see Congress, they can veto things, and they can veto things that the mayor does, and then it's got to be overturned. So it's a more complicated form of government than I think the council manager form is. So I just wanted to say that that's what I do, because I think there's a total lack of education on the part of our younger generation as to what local government does. Oh, absolutely. And my kids have been exposed to it, so they might know. But in general, you could walk, and this is the case many adults too. You never get that social studies portion of it or the government portion of what your local government does, and we're probably the most relevant. You're the one. We're the
Yes.
ones that you have the direct contact
The
with
first
every
line
day.
of defense.
Right, right. You know, you rarely know. You really know what the county does. You hope you know what the state does, and the federal government. You're pretty much in the dark on.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and whatever they say goes. You don't have any choice on them. But at least your local city government, you can come and speak to the council.
Right.
You can call them up. You can email them.
And that's one of the great things about the city is that, you know, while we're a large town, I like to equate our services to in a small town atmosphere. We really are, you know, responsive to the residents. And while there's going to be folks that don't necessarily agree with that, because that's in existence everywhere.
You can't please
but,
everybody.
You know, and looking at this organization and looking at the employees here, you know, we're first run type of family with our employees. We're responsive. It's we'll give you a call back. We'll even go to your house in many cases. And in some larger cities, since we're the 9th largest, you don't get that type of small town feel or small town services. And that includes the city council. And from my perspective, they're completely responsive. They want to make sure that inquiries from the residents or questions from the residents gets answered, and we try and process those through as quickly as we can. Right.
Jeff, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about some of the things that you want to share with us about happening in Port St. Lucie.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this quick break.
That's why I'm here, because our organization, I think, is an incredible organization with people who really do care.